Hi, you're listening to The Happiness Agenda, where we introduce you to people who can help you be happier, healthier, have better relationships, and or help you make more money. And I'm your host, the Relationship King, Steve Sapato. Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to The Happiness Agenda. And on The Happiness Agenda, all we want you to do is find a new path to your own happiness, to your own wellness, to your own ability to help other people find their happiness. And I want you to know I have a really great guest on. Dylan Rogers is an engineer turned relentless voice of inspirational growth. Whoa, let's go find out what that means. Hey, Dylan, are you there?
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. And so, Dylan, tell us a little bit about you. First of all, where do you live?
Absolutely. So I'm over here in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh,
So,
we'll forgive you for that.
well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So there's a lot of grass around here, not a whole lot of buildings, but yeah. So it's pretty cool over here. Well, a little bit about me. So I have my bachelor's in aerospace engineering and a master's in systems engineering. So my background is in pretty much solving complex problems. So I love the idea of being
You,
an engineer. Go ahead.
yeah, you know that engineers are not known to be dynamic individuals, right?
Oh, I'm very well aware.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Not very social. There's a joke. How do you know that an engineer is introverted? They look
Good
at their
question.
shoes when they talk to you. How do you know that an engineer is extroverted? They look at your shoes when they're talking to you. So engineers, so engineers are very known to be social, but for me, it was a path to develop those skills to solve complex problems. And so, that my background's in engineering and from Kansas City, been all over the place, Florida, Maryland, but now here in Ohio. And now, I'm just now finishing up a book I've been working on for 6 years called Winning at Life. So basically, it's about how to find your meaning in life, your purpose, how to actually create lasting happiness and the key to happiness, and why people hate and how to actually remove the burden of hate from your life. And I could talk about that
Why
forever, but
people hate. I know,
yeah,
isn't that why people hate? Isn't that it's sad that we even have to talk about that. That's what's
right.
sad, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well,
yeah,
well,
no,
I'm
go ahead.
thinking about it though. You already have somebody to help you get your book out there, make a lot of money, and do all the right stuff. Because I got a guy who can help you at least if you want to talk to him.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, for most of it has been by myself. I got some professional editors to go through it, but the whole marketing process and everything like that, I've just been going at it by myself. But it's been one heck of a journey of growth for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you first. I'll tell you his name, then I wrote it down so that I can send it to you. But his name's
I
Michael
appreciate that.
Delon, right?
Michael
Michael
Delon.
Delon,
Okay.
Delon. He's on
Okay.
LinkedIn. If you went to my LinkedIn, you'd find him on there. But I'll make sure I
Okay.
connect you to him because the one thing that I've found over the years is that a whole lot of people like to say they wrote books, and
Right. Yeah.
none of them make any money. None of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's wild.
that's
Yeah. And not to interrupt you, sorry, but some
no, that's
people, they
you're
spend
good.
their entire life writing a book. They take 20, 30, 40 years of experience and put it into a book. While other people, they go out and find a service to write the book for them, just slap their name as an author on the front, and then they publish it. And you just get the whole spectrum of
Whole,
experiences
I
and
think
types of
that's
books
the
and
tough
quality.
part to me. I write my own books, right? I mean, I literally write
Mhm.
my own books, and I don't. I have to admit, I haven't sold a bunch of books. I've only written like four, but I've got
Mhm.
one of my rich friends, and Steve has probably written 20 books.
Yeah.
And when I first met him, he was a mentor because he was on TV and he was doing these things. And then when I looked at one of his books, and it really wasn't a book. Okay, it was he'd done it. Somebody interviewed him for like an hour, and they took
Mhm.
the interview, transcribed it. So it was Bob said this, and Steve said that, and Bob asked this question, and
Mhm.
Steve said that, and Bob and I'm like, well, that's not a book. You didn't, you know. So it's funny to me that people claim that that's like the people who write a chapter in a book and then claim to be best-selling authors. I'm like, you wrote a chapter, right? So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that you've written your book, and now
Oh,
let's see if we can
absolutely.
help
Yeah.
you make some money on it, right? That's
I
key.
appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. I want to create a career out of it. Like I said before, my background's in engineering, but my real passion is to have a positive impact on the lives of others. So I view that there's no greater contribution to the world than to make somebody else's life better, to guide them to more happiness, to guide them to more fulfillment, health, whatever it might be. That to me, that's the ultimate contribution.
Well, then get out. Get out. You don't belong in
Get
my
out,
class.
yeah, get to work.
That's I do mine. Everything I do is either slapstick or sarcasm. So I back in. A lot of people don't find my humor humorous, and I'm like, well, shut up. Who cares, right? But
Right? It's all about
it's
having
just
a
the type
having
of
a good
thing.
time.
Yeah, that's right. Just whether you have a good time. But let's talk about what got you into happiness. I mean, you're an engineer. You're studying all
Mhm.
this stuff. You know how to do all these wonderful things, and then suddenly you go, I think I'll talk about happiness.
So it was been a journey, Steve. So when I first started writing my book 6 years ago, it started off as why people hate. And what was that, 2016? I looked around at the world. I'm like, why do people hate each other? Why do you just see somebody else, not even knowing who they are, and have these negative emotions towards them? No, I was curious. I wanted to know. So I started doing this research, trying to figure out, no, if I figure out the answer. And what I found is most people think hate is just human nature. They just brush it off as like, yeah, people hate, it's part of life, whatever. But to me, I didn't like that answer. Instead, and no, curious me, I'm just I it's such an important aspect and profound concept for the world that there has to be an answer. We need to know. So that's when I started doing my research, and that's when I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. I'm gonna write a book, why people hate, and now tell the world why people hate. And that's what it started at. But over time, it evolved. And what I realized is hate isn't some island in the middle of the ocean, but it's attached to the mainland. It's attached to every other aspect of our lives. And the more I've researched, the more I've delved into the concept, I actually came up with a lot of more answers to more profound questions along the way. And what I realized, and this is why my book is called Winning at Life, is that in life, there are two winning conditions: to secure a meaningful life with purpose and to secure a happy life. Optimism, positive growth, and contribution. And the greatest barrier between us and living a life to the fullest and us and winning at life is hate. So that's why Winning at Life turned to what it is today. And happiness, what you'll find, Steve, is what was it? Aristotle said, happiness is the chief good. Most things that we do in life, whether it's
Wait,
pursuing money,
happiness.
pursuing
Happiness is what?
cars,
Wait, happiness is what?
happiness is the chief good. So basically, the
Chief good.
what everybody else, what we all pursue in some way. We think we pursue money because we think on the other side lies lasting happiness. We pursue cars, houses. We pursue that dream job. We pursue things because we think that everlasting happiness lies on the other side. But that's not necessarily the case.
Well, obviously, that's one of those deals where people always, of course, people love to say, money won't make you happy, Steve. I go, let me give it a shot, would you? I mean, that's
Right?
what it should be about. But
Yeah.
it is. So many of us put things before life, and life is our family and our friends and what we do for fun. And so many people put, that's why we have workaholics, right? Workaholics who say,
Mm.
if I get this done, then I get this reward. And that's not how it works, unfortunately. And
No.
that's really see, I spend my life talking about love. That's what I talk. So when
Mhm.
I say love is never enough, people look at me like, what? I go, just like you've learned. I'm a nutball for everything I learned from Zig Ziglar. We taught together 40 years ago, and
Yeah.
one of the things he said was, right, that everything we are, we've learned, and if you learn
Mhm.
it, it's a skill, which means everything about us, including the hate, including the love. And I ask people all the time, well, so you're not, like, people say, my picker's broken. I mean, they can't find a partner, or, my marriage isn't working out, or this isn't, or I never find anybody. And I go, so all you're telling me is that you had a poor teacher when it came to teaching love. And they're like, what? And I go, it's the same thing there. People teach people how to love, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. If
Mhm.
if nobody taught you how to love in a good way, then you're going to struggle with it. And there are very few really good teachers on that. Now, by the same token, there's a whole lot of people who teach us how to hate. People who teach us we should hate by color. People who teach us how to hate by education. People who teach. I mean, right? The that whole scheme. So go ahead. I'll let you take it from there.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree 100%. And I forget who made this quote, but no, it's building upon that concept that children never do what you say, they do what you do. They've never failed to model their parents. And
That's
when
right.
their parents have struggle finding love and happiness in their lives, the children never learn from that experience. They never pick it up and figure it out themselves. And unfortunately,
Well,
so,
let me interrupt you
oh,
for a
go ahead.
second. I'm going to interrupt you for a
Absolutely.
second, which is the next time you have a great quote that you don't know who to attribute to,
Huh?
always attribute it to me.
Okay, is that right?
I will.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay, okay, duly noted. But absolutely. So kids learn from their parents, or at least what their parents do. And Steve, what most people don't realize is that most people are raised by amateur parents. Their parents
Oh,
go in, not really know what they're doing, and they just try to do their best. And it's amazing how I know everybody. No, when my parents, everybody's parents I know of, they're just trying to do their best, right? Everybody's parents truly, genuinely want the best for their kids, but a lot of times they're trying, and it just doesn't seem to work. So unfortunately, over time, for some parents, they kind of give up because they feel like it's helpless to raise their kid to like be somebody successful, maybe, or however they think the right way to raise their children are. And it can be difficult. It can be extremely difficult. I mean, raising a kid, it can be one
I
of the most
tell
difficult
I tell
challenges in the
people
world.
I tell people if you want to learn how to be a great parent,
Mhm.
go take a dog training course. And they look at me like, what? I go,
Mm,
it's the same concept. If you can learn to train your dog so your dog behaves well, your
mhm,
kids will behave well because they both need consistency. They both need
mhm,
direction. They both need encouragement. They both need rewards. They both need punishment. Oh my gosh. It should be so simple, but we've gotten to that place where we want our parents to be friends, or if we're parents, we want our kids to be our friends. And
mhm,
sometimes you can have your kids. My kid is my best friend. He's probably your age, 34, 35 years old. But he's a great friend, but it wasn't always that way. I had to teach him. He had to learn. He had growth spurts. He had to struggle. I mean, everything is about that. Like you say, that's
mhm.
that's the tough thing is there are no parenting classes. Maybe that's what we teach. Instead of teaching how not to hate, we got to teach parenting classes, right?
Yeah, that would definitely help quite a few people out there for sure. But just clarify here, I'm 27, not 35. But I don't know, like my hairline is receding
Oh,
a little bit, but it's
well,
all
no,
right.
I thought you were real young. So you can't be that smart and be that young. That think how that makes me feel.
All right, I'm sorry. A comparison, but yeah. So it's kind of interesting, and so in my book, one of the things I talk about as far as happiness and how to gain happiness is what from all the research I've done, from everybody I've learned around the concepts to happiness, I found there's to be one key to happiness. And if you secure this, you will be happy in your life. And that key to happiness is appreciation. If you appreciate every aspect of your life, from your body to your home to your friends to your family, you will be happy. Appreciation is that sense of joy and happiness gained from truly being grateful for things. Now, why most people can't be happy is there's something they don't appreciate, whether it's their body and they're not in the shape they want to be, whether it's their job and they feel like they should be
Were you
making
looking
more
at me when
money,
you
or maybe
said
they're
that?
not passionate. What was that?
I said, were you looking at me when you said that about their body?
Oh yeah, sorry, should have looked away. But it's a yeah. So it's if you appreciate every aspect of your life, you will be happy, but it can be extremely
How do you
difficult.
teach that? How do you teach that? There's the question.
Absolutely. So appreciation is that sense of joy and fulfillment that you get from truly being grateful, from seeing those aspects of your lives and being thankful. And an aspect of being grateful is what you're referring those things to, your reference points. So if you look at your body and you think you should have a six pack and you don't, then you're not going to be happy. You're going to see an absence of capability versus a gift that when you're still alive, you still have energy, you still have capability you can work with. If you see a job as, you should be making more money, you should be more fulfilled, make more of an impact in your job, and you don't, you can see that as an absence. And when things become an absence, they drain our energy. They siphon away our ability to be happy. Well, instead, if we refer like,
So
what,
how do
my
you
job, go ahead.
so I always start with so
Mhm,
many people say I can't wake up in a good mood. I always wake up in a bad mood.
mhm.
How do you help that? Isn't that because doesn't that lead to frustration and anger and maybe hate
Oh,
because
100%.
they wake
And
up in a bad mood?
absolutely. So to answer that question, as will be a quick diversion on topic, but it's what I call what I've learned from Mr. Tony Robbins, one of the most influential people in the world, but creating a compelling future. So when we have a compelling future, when we have a purpose, a meaning, a something we're
You just
pursuing that
broke
gets us
up.
out of
You
bed
just
in the
broke up.
morning, was that?
Okay, hold on. Broke up. So let's go back. You learned from Tony Robbins.
All right. Okay. So are we good now?
Yeah, seems
Yeah,
like it.
okay, so alright, okay, so yeah, so in order we need a compelling future. We need something we're excited about, that we're pursuing, that fulfills our meaning. We need to be striving towards something, and that's what gives us that motivation to actually live and pursue life to the fullest. So that kind of builds upon our meaning in life. The why and why we do something is what provides that motivation to do it, what gives us the energy, the passion, the focus. And if we have a powerful why, then that will drive our entire lives in a positive direction. So for me, my powerful why is I genuinely think that one, it's a complete passion of mine to have a positive impact on other people. And two, I see there's no greater contributions in the world than to have that positive impact on others, to make their lives better, make them happier, more healthier in some way. And for me, that drives me. I get out of morning, I get up. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, just working on stuff. And I am driven to do this because I know that it just aligns with all my values. It aligns with everything that I believe in creating a better world and helping people create a better life for themselves. And so if you have that compelling future, if you have a vision of the future that just you wake up and you're excited about, that can pull you forward and over the obstacles of getting out of bed in the morning and being
So,
drained and
so what's your
tired.
advice? What's your advice for most people? You see, first of all, we started off with how to overcome hate or something like that. But what's your advice
We've
for
taken a
people?
few
How do
diversions.
they stop hating? Yeah, we have. That's all right. More
Yeah,
more reason they'll buy your book so they can figure it all out. Which
exactly. Well, I
reminds me,
appreciate that.
where do they buy your book?
Absolutely. It's on Amazon. So it's releasing July 11th.
Okay, and what's it called again?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
What's it called again?
Oh, yeah. Winning at Life.
Winning at Life,
Yep.
right?
Winning at Life.
Winning
Because
at
if we
Life, and
secure,
it's on Amazon.
it's
Do
on
you have a
Amazon. Yes,
website?
indeed. Yes, I do. Dylan-Rogers.com. Yeah, I
Dylan.
should
So
spell it.
those
My
who are
bad. Yeah.
listening,
There's a couple different ways to spell
for
both
those
those
who are
words. So
listening, that's
yeah,
right.
let me
For those who
let
are
me spell it out
listening,
real quick.
rather than yeah, go ahead.
There we go. A Dylan dash ROGERS.com.
.com. Okay, and can they buy your book there too?
Yes, you can pre-order now for ebook, and then
Okay.
but the actual book itself is going to be sold through Amazon. It's just way easier that way.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like you. I don't know that I have to go talk to my web designer person to see if I even sell my book online. On my
Right?
website, because it's easier just to get it on. Hey, go to Amazon. It's right there. Just buy it.
Exactly. You get if you have Prime, you get 2 day shipping. It's just a better deal overall. So
And are you
absolutely.
going to make it into an audio book?
Yeah, so I'm actually planning on making it into an audiobook. So I'm getting the final edits back right now. And then once I get it back, I'm going to make it into an audiobook and have that all available again by July 11th. So it's a process, and I'm really excited to get started with that because
I
one of
tried to
my
make mine into
dream
an audiobook a couple times, and they
yeah.
always said the sound floor is not adequate, and I went, what? And they said the volume or something wasn't adequate. And I mean, I was at a professional studio the second time I had it done, and they still sent me a thing that said the sound floor is not something, and I was like, oh, never mind, I don't need an audiobook that bad.
Yeah. I think you can just do text to speech or something. But interesting. Huh? Sound fun. I'll have to note that. But yeah, I'm really excited to get that going. So for me, one of my biggest aspirations is also to become a speaker, to go around and actually speak on these subjects and teach people through the through the vocal word how to actually improve their life, how to be more happy, how be more meaningful, and remove this training weight of hate in their lives. And I feel like making an audiobook is an excellent opportunity to really develop your voice and go through the process of speaking. It's going to take like 13 hours to speak through the whole thing. It's kind of a long book, but it's full of value.
Well, that's just it. And you mind if I give you a tip or two?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm a speaking coach. That's one of the things I do. So
Oh, I
one
did
of
a
the
little
things I will
research.
make sure that yeah, I'll make sure you do is talk slower and talk
Okay.
with punctuation. In other words, when you
Mhm.
get to that pause or that period or that comma, give people time to think, right? And that's
Okay.
what's really going to be important. Yeah, is giving them time to think about what you're saying, so they go, oh, and then you take off again, and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Or they give them a chance to write it down while they're listening to the audiobook, or make a note of
Mhm.
something, because that'll impact them. But just slow your speech down a little bit and really impact the people, because that way, if you talk too fast, here's the challenge: if you talk too fast, you go by us too quickly. If you talk too slow, you put us to sleep. So it does take. There's a skill in there that really people have to master, and most of the people are just too boring. You're excited, and that's cool. But
I
so
appreciate that.
when we talk about hate,
Mhm.
where do we get it?
So I'm glad you brought that up because hate, most people think hate just pops up and it sticks around as part of our lives. But I actually break hate up into two different sections. I break it up into the origins of hate, where it started, But just because something started doesn't mean it sticks around. So there's what I call a fulcrum of hate. So basically, a fulcrum is a point where a lever is attached to a wall. So it's something that's attached within us that makes it stick around. So as far as why people hate, there are three origins. We're either taught it by a role model, whether it's a parent, a friend, a sibling, something like that, somebody close to us. We're either learned it from a negative experience. So something traumatic happened in our lives, and we associate that trauma to some trait, and we can grow to hate that trait. Once, every time we see it, we can relive those horrific experiences, and it can become this just negative feeling within us. And then thirdly, conflicting beliefs. And this could be, I mean, just look at politics. If you look at polar ends of politics, then you see a lot of emotion, a lot of time, unfortunately, rage. So if you have those conflicting beliefs to where you can't really empathize with the other side, that can create a sense of hate as well. So origins, you are taught it, negative experience, or conflicting belief. Now, then we get to the fulcrums, why it sticks around. So the first fulcrum is misunderstanding. You don't understand the other side, whether from lack of information or you have the wrong information. You learned something from somewhere that led you in the wrong direction as far as trying to understand it. So misunderstanding. And then two, it's what I call repudiation. It's a long word, but I really like the concept. It's basically not just misunderstanding somebody, but refusing to understand somebody, refusing to listen, blocking off, submitting to a closed mindset to where you just block off what they're saying. You don't even want to listen.
Oh, you mean like Democrats versus Republicans?
It's something like that, yeah. Somewhere along those lines.
No, I'm not listening to you. That's like, I was doing something the other day and somebody said something about they were still wearing their mask, and then they said something about COVID, and I said, oh, this about COVID. And they went, you're not one of them. And I went, what? And they went, I'll never talk to me again. And really, that was the first time we'd ever met. 15 seconds later, they didn't want me to ever talk to them again. And you're like, I guess that would be repudiation. Because
just refusing to listen.
Disagree.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to get into like the psychology of it, it's a defense mechanism to preserve like our way of being in our lifestyle. But before we jump off and do these tangents and divergence, the last fulcrum of hate, the reason that it sticks around in most people's lives is fear. What we learned in our childhood, or we had that negative experience, or whatever it might be. Fear for most of us is what keeps hate sticking around. Fear that whatever we hate will harm us, and whenever you think of something you fear, you think that we're closed off in some way. If you fear a snake, you're not going to approach any snakes. You don't even want to look at a snake. You're going to try to avoid it as much as possible. So it limits us. It limits our entire ability to relate to whatever idea that might be. Whether you hate snakes, you're going to limit your ability to be around snakes or go to a zoo or something like that. If you hate a certain kind of people, it's going to limit your ability to build relationships and really connect with others. So fear is an extremely powerful force. And unfortunately, it's used in a negative way most of the time.
Oh, almost always. Yeah. That's what, it's funny. I was listening to a comedian the other day, and he was talking about blacks versus white. He was a black comedian, and he was talking about blacks versus white and how white people are afraid of black people. If there's two or three black people walking down the street and there's two or three white people approaching, and the white people will cross the street to avoid the black people. And it was just, and it's, you think about it and you go, I wonder if that's true every place or just big cities or what. But, it is, there's a fear innate in those things, which of course then creates all the other problems that come with, I don't like black people or I don't like white people because of this. And so it's funny how we have created our own, it's in our mind. I mean, that's what it is. Isn't it all in our mind, Dylan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So basically hate is attached to our survival mechanism, our ability to preserve ourselves, because what we do is we judge other people. When we judge somebody else, we're not just looking to see if they're attractive or not, or whatever that might be. We're assessing if they're potentially dangerous. So basically, when you judge somebody on how they look, their clothing, whether they have any tattoos or not, or whatever you can observe, subconsciously you're judging them based off of how dangerous they can potentially be. And in that situation you just described, somewhere in there is a judgment that these people could be potentially dangerous. It's unfortunate, but it happens in the real world a lot of the times. So then what do? You act in ways to preserve yourself, to preserve your life. Even walking across the street, it's not significant, but it's still something. And it's built within our survival mechanism. And I view all human motivation in two categories. I view it in either survival or thriving. So survive or to thrive. And until we survive, which is our most powerful motivational force, we can't hope to thrive. If you're worried about where your next meal is going to come from, and if you're going to starve to death, you're not worried about being happy. You just want to survive. And that's built into that most powerful motivational force within people, is that survival mechanism.
It is crazy how what we do and how we do it changes every day. Most people don't understand that we're constantly changing. In my relationship stuff, people go, "Why do I have to change?" And the answer
Mhm.
is, you don't know, but you're changing every day. Something is
Absolutely.
affecting you, making you change your direction. We're not the giant river that pushes through everything in front of us. We're the little trickle that has to go around all the stones and the blocks that get in our way. And if you understand that, if you understand that you're constantly changing, then hopefully you'll open up to the things that will help you to change to become that powerful force one day. And that's where Dylan wants to go. We're getting down to the last few minutes already, which is fascinating to me that it's gone so fast. But Dylan wants to be that force in the world and wants to be that person who can help you change your life. So I highly recommend that you get his book, pick up his book when it comes out in July. This will be out probably the end of June. This podcast that we have. So it'll probably be a week away. You can pre-order your thing and get it in a week or two from Dylan. And Dylan, how do they get your book and how do they get in touch with you again?
Absolutely. So again, you can go to my website, dylan-rogers.com, dylan-rogers.com. I forgot to mention earlier, but I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a life coach. I'm actually a certified life coach through Tony Robbins' program, probably one of the best in the world. But hey, so one thing I forgot to mention earlier is I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a certified life coach. So I also do coaching. And if you want to learn anything about me or get a link to the book, you can go to dylan-rogers.com, dylan-rogers.com. And there you can find everything Dylan Rogers, all my stuff. I have YouTube videos and there and whatnot. Or if you want to just go to the book, you can go to Amazon, Winning at Life, Dylan J. Rogers.
Winning at Life.
Yeah,
Dylan what?
indeed.
Dylan something Rogers?
Dylan J. Rogers.
Dylan J. What's the J stand for now?
Jacob. So what I found is
Oh,
there's a
that's
lot of Dylan Rogerses out there. So to distinguish myself, I had to throw the J in there. So
that's I find that a lot of people, especially on LinkedIn, have to put their middle initial in there
Mhm.
because it's amazing how many times you say, "Hey," like mine is Steve Sapato. I have yet
Yep.
to run across another Sapato, right,
Yeah.
spelled the way mine is, and I've yet to run across a Steve Sapato. So I'm pretty much out there on my own, which is good for me. But I see so
Naturally
many other
set up for
people.
success.
Well, and I had a friend a mentor of mine whose name was Dan Smith, and I went when I first met him when I was in my late 20s. I went, boy,
Mhm.
it must be hell for you to go to a hotel because people say, "What's your name?" You're like Smith. They're like, "Oh yeah, right." And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's it. And then of course your Rogers coincides with Captain America, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Mr. Rogers Neighborhood, all
Oh,
the best.
see all the nice things. Maybe he'll have his own TV show when he gets old.
Oh, and
Right?
hopefully not too old.
And he'll be singing a little ditty to your kids. There he goes, Dylan Rogers. Yeah. So, Dylan, it's been a great pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to seeing your book and hearing more from you as we go down the road. And I look forward to staying in touch with you. And if you're on LinkedIn, right? Is that how we met? I'm not even sure.
Yes, it is. Yep. It's how we went.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll make sure I ding the bell next to your name so that I get notified whenever you have a post. And if you feel like it, you can ding the bell next to my name on
Mhm.
LinkedIn so you can see when I have a post. But
Mhm.
other than that, let's stay connected and let's see if we can help you become that speaker that will change people's lives. Isn't that what we want?
Absolutely. 100%. Well, it's been a pleasure, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks a lot. And for you folks, if you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next happiness agenda. God bless.